This is a 2D animated video in Khmer, telling the fairy tale of the lazy princess. Once upon a time, in a distant enchanted kingdom, there was a beautiful princess who lived inside an enormous and magnificent palace. The palace was built in traditional Khmer style, with elegant towers that reached up to the sky and courtyards adorned with sparkling fountains and statues. The princess wore exquisite garments made of golden silk and adorned with precious gemstones, each stitch telling a story of her lineage and heritage. Her every whim was catered to by hand-picked servants whose sole purpose was to ensure her comfort and happiness. Yet, despite all these blessings, the princess was incredibly lazy. She spent her days lounging around the palace, refusing to learn how to read or write. She would rather spend hours staring at her reflection in the golden pool instead. She never helped the people around her and refused to lift a finger, even when the kingdom started to fall into hardship. How? Her father, the king, was deeply concerned about his daughter's behavior. He had tried everything he could think of to make her change, but nothing seemed to work. Day after day, he watched helplessly as she remained unmoved by the plight of their people, too absorbed in her own selfish pursuits to care. The king's heart ached for his people, yet he felt powerless to change his daughter's ways. It seemed as though there was nothing he could do to save both his kingdom and his child from the path of destruction they were on. As the kingdom descended into chaos, the king felt a deep sense of despair wash over him. The weight of his people's suffering pressed down on him like a heavy stone, making it hard to breathe. Each pleading face, each desperate cry echoed in his ears, reminding him of his failure as a ruler and a father. Would his legacy be remembered as that of a weak king who couldn't protect his people? Or worse, a father who failed to guide his own flesh and blood to righteousness? One day, while walking through the palace, the king stumbled upon an old and tattered book hidden away in the royal library. As he opened it, strange symbols and words danced before his eyes, hinting at an ancient magic slumbering within its pages. With renewed determination, the king sought out a hermit known for his wisdom and mastery of forgotten lore. The hermit listened patiently to the king's tale of woe, and when the king finished, the hermit spoke in a calm and soothing voice. "There is a way," he began, handing the king a glowing amulet. "Use this. It will lead you to the Fairy of Everlasting Lake, the most powerful sorceress in our land." With newfound hope, the king set off on his quest. The amulet glowed brighter with each step he took, guiding him through enchanted forests and over sparkling rivers until they arrived at a clearing bathed in ethereal light. Before him stood a majestic lake, so still and pure it seemed like a sheet of polished silver. And on its surface floated an island adorned with blooming lotuses. Suddenly, a regal woman materialized beside him. Her eyes twinkled with ancient wisdom, and her presence radiated an otherworldly power. The king fell to his knees before her, his heart pounding with anticipation. "Great fairy of everlasting lake," he began, pouring out his tale of sorrow and despair. When the king finished, the fairy remained silent for a moment, her gaze fixed on the shimmering lake. Finally, she spoke in a voice like rustling leaves. "Your daughter's heart has grown cold from a life of luxury and ease. To rekindle her compassion, she must experience life's hardships firsthand." The king protested, but the fairy waved her hand, her eyes blazing with power. "My decision is final. Until she understands the value of hard work and empathy, she will remain unchanged." And with a flick of her wrist, the princess vanished from her luxurious chambers and reappeared in a humble village cottage. But the princess knew nothing of farming or domestic work. She struggled with simple tasks, her delicate hands unaccustomed to such labor. The villagers, noticing her awkwardness, offered kind words and helping hands. But deep down, the princess seethed with anger and resentment towards her father, whom she believed had cursed her. Days turned into weeks, and the princess continued to struggle with her new reality. The villagers, initially sympathetic, grew tired of her constant complaints and willful ignorance. One evening, after a particularly harsh day in the fields, the princess sat by the riverbank, tears streaming down her face. Suddenly, an old woman approached her. "Why do you cry, child?" she asked gently. The princess, surprised by the woman's kindness, poured out her tale of woe and frustration. The old woman listened patiently, and when the princess finished, she spoke in a soft voice. "Your father didn't curse you. The fairy merely wished to open your eyes to the world's beauty and hardships. Only then can you truly understand the meaning of compassion and empathy." The princess, ashamed of her selfishness, apologized for her past behavior. The old woman, sensing the princess's genuine remorse, placed a hand on her shoulder. "Go back to your village and try again. This time, do your chores willingly and with a grateful heart. Only then will you begin to see the value in hard work." The princess, taking the old woman's advice to heart, returned to the village and began working alongside the villagers. At first it was hard, but as days turned into weeks, she found a strange sense of satisfaction in her work. She helped the villagers repair their homes, plant crops, and care for their animals. Slowly but surely, she learned the meaning of hard work and empathy. As the princess worked, the villagers noticed a remarkable change in her. Her initial clumsiness had transformed into a surprisingly capable determination. Her complaints had turned into cheerful humming, and her sullen face now broke into frequent smiles. They saw not a spoiled princess, but a diligent young woman learning the value of honest labor. After 7 days of living as a commoner, The princess felt lighter and happier than she had ever done in her pampered life at the palace.
Ow.
She understood now the importance of hard work, humility, and kindness.
Oh.
She realized that true happiness didn't come from endless luxury, but from helping others and contributing to the world around her. As the sun set on the 7th day, the princess stood by the river, her heart full of gratitude. Suddenly, the fairy of Everlasting Lake appeared before her, her eyes twinkling with approval.
Oh.
"You have learned much in these past 7 days," the fairy said, her voice echoing with kindness.
Oh.
"Your heart is no longer clouded by selfishness, and that is what truly matters." With a wave of her magic wand, the princess was returned to her luxurious chambers in the palace. When the king saw his daughter, he rushed to her, his heart filled with relief and love. But the princess stopped him with a gentle hand, her eyes shining with newfound wisdom. "Father, I am home now, but I will never forget what I've learned. I won't be the lazy princess anymore." From that day on, the princess became known throughout the kingdom as the most helpful and compassionate leader. She used her position not for selfish gain, but to serve her people and make their lives better. The kingdom flourished under her reign, and the princess's story became a legend, reminding everyone of the importance of humility, kindness, and hard work. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful princess who lived in a magnificent palace. She had everything she could ever want, yet she was incredibly lazy and refused to help anyone. No matter how hard her people struggled, she wouldn't lift a finger to help. One day, her father, the king, went to an old hermit for help. The hermit gave him an amulet that led him to the fairy of Everlasting. The fairy told the king that his daughter needed to experience life's hardships to learn compassion and empathy. So she turned the princess into a commoner for 7 days. The princess struggled with her new life and resented her father for her misfortune. But after a week of hard work, she realized the importance of helping others and contributing to the world around her. She learned that true happiness comes not from luxury, but from serving those around you. When the fairy saw the change in the princess, she ended the spell early and brought her back to the palace. The princess became a compassionate and helpful leader. And her story taught everyone the value of humility, kindness, and hard work. And that is the end of the story. In Khmer, the moral of the story goes like this. From this story, we learn that being too comfortable and luxurious can cause us to become lazy and uncaring. However, when we experience difficulties and hardships, we learn valuable lessons about humility, kindness, and hard work. These lessons shape us into better, more compassionate individuals, ready to help others and make the world a better place. Just like the princess, we can overcome laziness and become strong, wise, and caring individuals if we embrace challenges and learn from them.